From Central Indiana's #1 news source, this is Fox 59 Tonight.
Well, good evening to you. I'm Cameron Ridle. Thank you for joining us here on Fox 59 Tonight. Downloading the Fox 59 Now Smart TV app or finding us on YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button there. And if you haven't downloaded our new app, make sure you download that on your Roku, your Fire TV, or your Apple TV so you never miss a second of the conversations and all of the original shows that we are putting together for you right here on Fox 59 Now. Tonight, we are going to do a little political talk. Now, earlier this week, we heard from one of our good friends, Whitley Yates, from the Republican side, who had some interesting things to say from one view of the aisle. She actually has a very unique perspective. But if Whitley had a political partner in crime, but who felt the opposite on a lot of things, it might be this lady, Samantha Douglas, who's in our studio right now. Samantha, you're on the other side of the aisle on a lot of things, but the thing about you and Whitley, which is why you guys have to come in here together, is as much as you disagree, there are a lot of things you agree on, which makes it entertaining.
Yeah.
There's a lot that happened this week in politics, and I know you have thoughts on a lot of them. Where dare we start?
I know, right? It's so much. I want to say first, thank you for having me here.
Absolutely.
And our conservative cousin, right?
That's right.
Whitley.
That's right.
I love her. But yeah, super excited to be here. Share it wherever you want to start.
Well, let's start with one of the conversations that kind of kicked off the week. Was the 3/5 compromise comments from the lieutenant governor that continues to get a lot of discussion. And now we've heard from the governor, who said he didn't like that, but we've heard from pastors and other community advocates. People say that we need you to say a bit more and fully condemn that, governor. Nevertheless, the controversy here is that Micah Beckwith said that the 3/5 compromise was great. It was a great move. And unless you are a slave owner, it's still unclear who it was great for.
And that's like one of the most disgusting things that I feel like nobody's really highlighted throughout this whole thing and discussions about it is the fact that that conversation or that decision was had by our forefathers was disgusting to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And him suggesting that there's even any kind of silver lining with this, right? That is like, oh, it led to, this power, them not getting this power,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can get rid of slavery. And that's just so disgusting. No,
Mm-hmm.
counting our people as anything less than what they are is disgusting in every point, and full stop there. Like, and I think that was one of the most frustrating parts about it. And I guess to also include, I don't like the context in which it was brought up to begin with, if I'm being honest. I don't think that it really like fit well with the argument.
The context of it was almost the context was, I don't even know what the word was. He went out of his way to deliver this message. He sat on his desk to talk about how the Democrats compared it in their negotiations of a bill in the Indiana State House.
Exactly.
He then went out of his way to give this quote unquote lesson, of which he said, look it up and do your history and all this.
A clown at the circus. Boy, he's going to perform, ain't he?
It
And I think I think at some point too, we're just gonna have to accept the fact that he's gonna keep performing in this way, and we're just gonna have to start like ignoring this fool, because I think the attention just fuels him.
Well, it's funny you say ignore him, because I was talking with somebody and they were like, no, we have to talk about this, because at first I said, this didn't get as much traction when he first said it,
Right.
as I expected. That you would expect when somebody says something like this. You would think it would take off, and it didn't. And I said, is that just because that people are like, that's just old Micah Beckwith being Michael Beckwith? And somebody said, yeah, but that's not, we can't normalize things such as that. If this guy is helping, has a hand in approving our textbooks and the literal history that our students learn, and if he is telling it in such a way that makes I've never heard in the context of the 3/5 compromise led to the end of slavery.
It's wild. It is wild. That's one. But I don't want to suggest that we just ignore the issue. right? I don't want to ignore the issue. I think it can still be fought though, while also not giving him so much attention because that's what he wants
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's be clear. The reason why he's doing all this, if he wanted to be there to just do great work, he would just shut up and do great work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what we're seeing. What we're seeing instead is just a lot of attention seeking behavior. And I guess what I want us to explore is how can we both, not give him what he wants, but also address some of the concerns that this is just outlandish and ridiculous.
Well, that wasn't all for the week from Micah Beckwith.
Was not.
And so maybe this goes to your point that he's looking for these moments to go viral and say these things. And I've never met the guy to know if he's doing this purely for attention or if these are things that he
Mhm.
truly believes or if it's a combination of both or none at all.
Yeah.
But there was another exchange this week with him and Senator Greg Taylor where they were talking about um, who should have a seat at the table when you have conversations about race and equality and all kinds of things. And um, Lieutenant Governor Beckwith said, should the KKK have a seat at the table? And he said, yes, they should have a seat at the table too.
Yeah. And I cannot, first of all, I cannot say this enough. Okay. State Senator Greg Taylor has 6 sexual harassment allegations, and he is still in this seat. I mean, and comfortably in this seat, right? I just want to highlight that first of all, and I want to highlight that because to ignore 6 victims is disgusting to me. And so I just want to put that out there. So, I'm a big um advocate to get him out of there, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
being honest.
Mm-hmm.
But the other side of that is this kind of stuff, right? Where if you watch the podcast, which let me tell you, I try not to watch it because I didn't want to give Micah Beck with any views. He only has like 300 views on this little video anyway, which is probably why he's trying to get attention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you listen to it or whatever, you can tell he probably didn't mean harm.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is get rid of the good intentions, bad intentions, whatever. It was just stupid to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think too, we don't look at enough that we have to know about what inclusion is, why it's there, why we need it, and why safe spaces are needed to actually understand how to create and protect those spaces. And what he just showed in that moment, saying, yeah, the KKK gets a seat too, he was just proving in that moment, one, you're ignorant to these concepts and the purpose of them, or you would understand how ridiculous that is. And then the other piece of that too is you let Micah Beckwith bait you into this comment, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
you can get this negative attention because we're not talking about so much the fact that Micah Beckwith even brought up the KKK as a person who should, or as a group that should be included, right?
Correct.
But we're talking about that Greg Taylor freaking said yes as a black man
Mm-hmm.
in our state, like
Mm-hmm.
representing a very diverse district, a very heavily dim district. It just doesn't make sense. But I think in looking at it, one of the concepts I really thought of that I want people to think about when they hear these kind of issues is somebody brought up the paradox of tolerance
Mm-hmm.
and how Democrats get caught up in that. And for the people who don't know what that is, it basically says that like when you tolerate intolerance, eventually it leads to the dominance of intolerance. And the point is we can't continue to allow things that are harmful and what we're working against to have space when we're talking about inclusion and making way for marginalized or excluded groups when the KKK is not a marginalized or excluded group, obviously, right?
Well, I know you were talking about, Greg Taylor, but my thing is I keep thinking, why is that who we're concerned
Yeah.
about representing?
Yes, and to Micah Beck with it because it's not about that. He just wanted what's the most outlandish group I can say to this black man, right? To get a reaction out of him. And what's funny is he probably wanted a different kind of reaction. I doubt he expected Greg Taylor to say, "Yeah, they get a seat at the table too," because it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's what we got. And I think we need to think about the fact that this is somebody who is in our state house in a severe super minority, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Making decisions on behalf of our people. Is that I say this all the time. In Marion County, we get to be picky. We are so heavily Democrat. We get to be picky. And if we're being picky, is this the kind of representation we want? And ultimately, I just keep coming back to no, both with Micah Beckwith at a state level, right, and with Greg Taylor here.
And I know you are no Greg Taylor fan,
Mm-mm.
and you mentioned the things that he's been accused of. Of course, he hasn't been charged or convicted of anything.
No, just alleged. I said alleged.
You did,
Mm-hmm.
but I bring that up because it just how times have changed. Because now, whether you're Democrat or Republican, and maybe that's because of it is because of all the things that Trump has been through years ago, that you'd have been done.
I mean, really, really. Now, in fairness, we have seen other, in specific Black men. We've seen a lot of women have to come forward for them to take them serious, for them to actually get charges and actually like start to, lose their positions of power, which is what's most important to me, if I'm being honest. That this kind of behavior can't continue, and I'm a huge proponent that behavior that is not, that does not receive like consequences, behavior like this that doesn't receive consequences, will continue to repeat itself. So I think that's one of the biggest things is like if we don't hold him accountable for the stuff he's done, we won't see any kind of change. So it's like we have to do that. But and I think too, people get mad because I'm saying this about a Democrat as a Democrat, but I want to encourage us that it's gonna be hard to build if our foundation is faulty. And the Democrats that we currently have in these seats are our foundation to continue to build and fight against this supermajority. And if the foundation is crumbling, it's very, very hard to build on. And so we have to do better.
You talked about how this is a Democrat city, and we can pick and choose. Let's talk about your
Yeah,
Democrats for a second.
let's talk.
Um, Obviously, we are in a phase of finding out a lot of things.
Yeah.
Having been through an election where the president uh, won re-election again, despite everything else, and it seems Democrats are still trying to figure out how to go about this, how to combat him. Do you combat him? For a while, you couldn't find a Democrats. They're like, let Trump just so this is all people remember. But then you also have people who are like, no, you have to get up and you have to fight this.
Yep.
You have to play the same game that Trump is doing. And there's not a lot of Democrats who know how to do Trump better than Trump.
And honestly, I don't think that's the right move.
Hmm.
Because it's not that we need to do Trump. It's that people, whether they agree or not, are attracted to his authenticity.
Hmm.
That you can say that is very Trump, right?
Hmm.
He can make a decision like, yeah, that's on par with who he is. I think with Democrats, people are having a hard time connecting, honestly, because it doesn't feel we're used to these polished politicians rather than people we can actually connect with, that it feels real, whether I agree with you or not. I think that's one of the things people gravitate to with AOC, with Crockett, right? Is the raw authenticity. They're telling you exactly what they think and feel. They're not holding back. They don't care about looking polished. And I think people appreciate that. And honestly, I think a lot of our Democrat leaders need to worry more about being authentic and being relatable and breaking down these decisions and policies and politics into like, how does that impact me today, tomorrow, my family? Like breaking it down at that level so that we can connect with the folks again, because it's always been, people power has always been our power,
Hmm.
and we are failing at that at a very grassroots level.
Well, I know you're not the biggest Kamala Harris fan. Um,
Well, why you say that?
well, because I remember what you said on the radio. You didn't
Oh,
say you didn't like her,
yeah,
but
no, be clear, because
yes,
Whitley said, "Is this the best you had to offer?" I think is what she asked,
something
right?
like that.
Something to that effect. And I was
Hmm.
like, "No, I don't think this was our best," right?
Correct.
I don't think it was our best to offer. And I think in November we saw the results of that, right? I had challenges with how people connected with her and things
But
like that.
and so that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
You can go back and pull clips of exactly what she said, and the things that she said would happen
Mhm.
are happening
Yes.
verbatim.
Yes.
So my question to you is, if she was so right with, I mean,
Yeah.
with, in the first, we'll be in a recession in the first quarter, first quarter of the year, yada, yada, yada. All the different things that she said are coming to life exactly as she said it. So, as your point, you were saying the Democrats need to tell people how this is going to affect them directly and exactly in the way it is. She did that.
Yeah, but she was missing the connection piece, right? Like being able to connect with
Hmm.
her authenticity. That was what she was missing. No, people felt like, and you can ask other people this, but a lot of people didn't really feel like they knew her.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that was the struggle when Obama ran. One of the things that we all loved about him the most is that he felt like he was one of those, like, our uncle,
Hmm.
right? He was one of those people we knew him. Like, I could tell you, "That don't sound like something Obama would do." You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
we felt like we knew him. There was a real connection there. Even with his wife, right?
Hmm.
With Michelle Obama, there was a real connection there, more than any first lady I've seen in my lifetime. Like,
Hmm.
it was an interesting dynamic, and I think in many ways, not just in those ways, but also in campaigning, the Obamas gave us a blueprint.
All right.
They
So
really
now,
did.
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Why is it that Democrats need all that? Where, on the other side, Republicans do not need all that.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. Because I know of many Republicans who do not like Trump, but voted for him.
Yes, because they connect in a different way. They
Okay.
still need the connection,
Okay.
but they
Do
connect in
tell.
a different way. So they connect in principle, right? And in so with like a conservative culture, especially based in religion, like
Mm-hmm.
Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
right? They connect at that level.
Mm-hmm.
And so people have traditionally said Republicans fall in line, Democrats fall in love, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the point is we look more for values and stuff, which on ours we have a spectrum of values. I can feel I want to protect the environment,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I can be anti-abortion and I
Mm-hmm.
can be, all these other things. And because I'm pro-environment or whatever, I'm a Democrat because liberals just protect the environment more, right? And so when we look at that kind of stuff, we're dealing with a much broader spectrum of things that we have to connect about and talk about. And like, can we still vote for somebody even though we don't agree on every single thing and stuff? We talk about it being a big tent, all of that. Whereas on the Republican side, um, you find a lot of like Christians and like business folks that have money, folks that are, socially conservative or fiscally conservative.
So, but how do you please that party? Because if the
It's not about that's my point right there, what you just said. How do you please that party? That is the wrong it's the wrong way. It's not about pleasing the party. It's
Mhm.
how do we elevate leaders that have a connection to the community, that the community can believe and support and follow through those trenches. Like,
Well, I guess what I'm saying is the Democrats, like you said, you have to fall in love. What I'm asking is Republicans don't need to fall in love. Like I said, I got people
yeah,
who
this is
do
a
not
different
like
strategy.
him, but where I'm going with that is that seems to be that's how you win though. That's the party that's winning.
That's how you win for Republicans.
Right. Okay,
If you
so
try if
mhm,
you do a Democrat version,
correct.
that will not fly with us.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but at the end of the day,
Mhm.
that system of, hey, we just got to get in line is winning over we got to also fall in love.
No, no. I think no.
No?
No, uh-uh.
Do tell. Tell me more.
Yeah, yeah. So, over time, what we saw is because what has happened with Trump is he activated
Mhm.
a group of folks that have been stagnant and felt like they were ignored. You know, the rural white folks that felt like they were forgotten. Some of the young folks, like young white men, I was super surprised by, but feeling like they didn't have the attention, the respect, the access, the opportunities that they wanted or deserved. He activated all of those groups. Like we don't need to ignore that. Like that was a big deal. So
Mhm.
it wasn't just that these are the things they did and this is how they won. He also came in and activated a group that was kind of asleep and kind of at a lull. And being honest, Democrats got comfortable, right? We had 8 years of Obama. and we thought Trump was a joke. So did the Republicans. Everybody thought Trump was a joke, right? Is this a joke, whatever? But he struck a real chord, and then he dug in his heels, and he's a great salesman, right? Like it or love it.
Oh,
Apparently, he's a
Tr-
great salesman.
Trump is a great salesman. He's great
So
on TV. He's
yeah,
great with connecting with people.
yes, but
But
it's all lies. It's all a facade.
mhm,
And that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to actually be real. It just has to feel real. And that's why I was telling you I disagree, because they desire connection too. They just don't need it to be authentic connection. I think one of the things that we've seen too is like even with Project 2025, because um earlier I heard Wynn say that like he's doing all the things that he promised. He's not just doing the things that he promised, because remember he was trying to separate himself from Project 2025 while he was
mhm,
running.
mhm.
He's also implementing things from Project
Straight
2025.
out of Project.
It's straight out.
Everything that's happening is from Project 2025.
Except porn. They ain't banned
So,
porn yet.
so far, it's still early.
Okay. So yeah, so that's not everything, but they're banning
Actually, some
something.
states have though. Like
Well,
so I hear.
yeah. Trump hasn't. Trump hasn't done it.
Not yet.
So, but again, the Heritage Foundation has been around for a long time. They got a whole bunch of conservative leaders to put this plan together. So I don't know. I guess I want to caution people that it took a long time to get here.
Correct,
It didn't happen overnight.
right, and everything that you're saying, I'm not disagreeing with. What I'm saying is all the way down to the Heritage Foundation, and that this is going to take years, and we're going to keep at it. It seems to me the Republicans, be it a Republican in Iowa or a Republican in Washington, understands the assignment that we ain't got to like the guy,
Right.
but this is what we need to get done.
Yes.
What I'm asking you is, what is the secret sauce on how I'm not feeling how Democrats are understanding the assignment, because I get all the values and things that you
Well, you
talked
didn't
about.
ask me if we understood the assignment. I
Well,
just
do
said
you
what
understand
the
the
assignment
assignment?
was. So I think it's clear that a lot of us don't understand the assignment.
Okay.
And that's what I was saying when I was saying the Obamas gave us a blueprint that we're clearly not using, like grassroots organizing, starting at a neighborhood level and organizing at that level and building from there, having leaders that are raised up from there, that are beloved by their community, that are trusted in their community, that people have already connected with. Like, I don't have to build connection in the Far East Side. Is there already. I've been doing 10 years of work. You know what I mean? We need to make sure we're doing that kind of work. And what I'm hoping is, honestly, this isn't going to be a quick fix, because it took us a while to get here. It's going to take us a while to get out of here. But it's going to be that kind of build, that day in, day out, organizing year round outside of campaigns, right? Our safe Democrat politicians that are in safe districts are going to have to get out there and fundraise and support the ones who aren't safe, who are challenged, who are trying to flip seats. We are going to have to work intentionally, boldly, authentically, and honestly, get rid of ones that cause problems and cause us to lose some of that with the community along the way as well.
And where I was going earlier when I said please, that's what I was trying to get from you, is how do you please them that they understand the assignment? Because
Yeah.
everybody knew what was at stake and what was in Project 2025. I mean, even today, when the Trump says he signed an executive order to defund PBS and NPR, shut down the Department of Education. These are all things that he said that he was going to do.
Yes.
So where I'm saying, do Democrats not understand the assignment, that you didn't have to completely be in love with Kamala?
Yeah.
Everything you love and that you say
Yeah.
you love and that you stand for is at stake, and he's doing what he said he was going to do. But I didn't like Kamala all the way, so.
Well, but you're starting the issue at Kamala, and we have to go back further than that, because it's, why didn't we have somebody teed up that could connect, that you know what I mean? Because it wasn't.
Again. I guess we're now where I'm going. I mean, I'm listening to you. You're making me think. So, but now where I'm saying, if all these things were so precious, again, Republicans been trying for 50 years to get that abortion ban. If somebody says, I'm going to take everything away that you love if I get in office, you would think you would do anything to protect that. So if somebody put a broom up for president and they were going to save what you love, I guess I'm seeing.
I think you would think, but
You would
no.
think.
But I remember what I just told you. I was like, it
Mhm.
doesn't even have to be real.
Mhm.
If it's something I can connect with, it doesn't even have to be real. Now,
Mhm.
I do want to point out too that we split in half over this vote. So let's not act like she didn't get a lot of people
Correct.
to
Correct. Correct.
agree,
It
right?
wasn't. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was close. And it was we split in half. And most of those breakdowns, except for black folks, I just wanted to point that out.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
understood the assignment.
Okay. Okay.
But outside of that, most folks split in half. So I think, and this is what I'll say for the people who voted for Trump, I think they felt like the way they were able to connect for the things that they wanted in their interest, it overrode all of the horrible things about him, if
Mhm.
I'm being honest.
Mhm.
And then on our side, that trouble to connect, I'm telling you, it can be big. And I think I brought this up before, but like we've seen a similar kind of thing with Stacey Abrams, right?
Mhm.
There's that struggle with us. It takes a little bit more, like, and you said to please, but I
Mhm.
just don't. The reason why I didn't like please is because I want Democrats to stop performing.
Mhm.
You know, be authentic. Really talk and connect with people like in a real way. Talk to them about why you're passionate about this and don't just give me the talking points, but for real, like why is it important to you? And I think if we seen more of that, I think if we seen more of that, we'd be able to build on that momentum. I don't think it's a silver bullet to solve everything, but I think it's definitely a start.
So we talk about values and everything that we love and things that are being shut down from USAID to the Department of Education to Veterans Affairs, and now today it's public broadcasting. What I've been saying since um, the start of 2025, and if anybody at this point is your job is to tell the truth and to
Yeah.
provide information. Um, Everything we do has been under attack and is very much under attack right now. There are companies, you're seeing news anchors step away because either by force or voluntarily, because their company has to get some big merger past
Yeah.
the Trump administration. And we're seeing we're seeing the Trump FCC say that they're going to start going into companies to make sure that these private companies are not doing DEI in any type of way with inside that company. So we're seeing this consistent overreach, and now we're seeing today
Consistent overreach.
NPR and PBS. They want to shut that down because
Yeah.
they say the White House says the American uh, president says that those organizations are putting out propaganda.
Didn't Trump promise to be a dictator?
Pretty, yeah, you know.
I mean, like I'm for real, and this is part of that plan, right? This is the dictator package 2.0, right? Like this is a part of that plan. Is shutting down media accountability
Hmm.
because he benefits from people being ignorant, literally, ignorant or uneducated about the topics that he is doing. Like when we started talking about tariffs, many of us had to start a whole tariffs 101 because we didn't even understand it to understand how it
Hmm.
would impact us,
Hmm.
how it would impact business, jobs,
Hmm.
everything, right?
Hmm.
And so he benefits from us being ignorant about these things. And so it makes all the sense in the world that he would attack media. I think one of the most disgusting things about this in particular, for the people who don't know, the way that the federal government is able to get money to media sources is through a nonprofit that is created by the Congress,
Hmm.
funding that is approved and sent by Congress. And so this is a disgusting overreach into their territory. This is something decided by Congress. It should not be decided by the president and him issuing these executive orders. You know, I feel like me and you talked about this before, but it's
Hmm.
just showing the glaring flaws with the executive orders and how him being able to do this to stop funding, and then we have to go to court to fight that it's not real. But in the meantime, this funding is already getting stopped, even though it's been approved by all the appropriate bodies.
Hmm.
It's disgusting.
Hmm.
That's disgusting. So I also think during this time, it would be intelligent of us to use all of the stuff that he's doing to find all of the loopholes that we need to close. Like, because another elected official, another president, let's say another crazy one comes along, we do not need to keep allowing this kind of stuff. Like, if there's decisions made by the appropriate body that are in place, they need to keep on going until it goes to that court case. And if the courts decide that, he's within his rights to shut it down, then okay. But if they don't, that funding should keep on going, because now they're scrambling.
Well, the point you're making is that even if he legally can't do it, by going with by temporarily, okay, if he says shut it down until further notice, you're
Yes.
giving him what he wants.
Yes. Yes, and that's it's the same kind of loophole they're finding with the man that they're supposed to be bringing back from El Salvador,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The Supreme Court has told him you need to facilitate his return, and they're arguing over, well, what does facilitate really
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, we are letting them loophole their way out of everything, and we need to shut that down. We need to shut that down.
Well, all of the information sources, even in other countries, they're saying that the Radio Asia or whoever, they're putting out propaganda. Those were created so that people in those countries could know what the truth is, because their governments
Yes,
were shutting down information and blocking it out. Guess what we're doing?
exactly. I'm interested to hear your perspective too, because media. You talk to it a little bit, but I mean, investigative journalism. All of this stuff is so very important to
We're
accountability.
under a super attack, and
Yeah,
a lot of news organizations, I won't say all of them, but a lot of them wanted Trump back in office, and um, because his term in office creates
controversy.
controversy, easy for me to say,
Yeah,
leads to ratings, because people have to
yeah,
tune in and find out what's going on.
yes,
But again, he's attacking those same companies. He went on ABC the other day. You're in the middle of an ABC interview and you say, by the way, ABC is the worst. You guys you're the bottom. You're terrible. It is the information as a whole, again, from
yeah,
the Department of Education to what's being said on TV. We've seen, and in the paper, we've seen the Washington Post say, we're going to take a little friendlier jog around this time. We won't poke so much at the president, but their tagline is democracy dies in the dark, meaning
yeah,
if journalism isn't shining a light on it, then
yeah,
democracy dies. So if
yes,
that's your tagline and you say, well, I'm going to stop shining a light, then get rid of the tagline, because that
yeah,
was your absolute mission. So when you go back to the inauguration, who was sitting behind Trump? People who own the internet. Elon Musk,
mm-hmm,
Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook,
yep,
Bezos with
yeah.
Amazon.
And with Facebook, you saw very
You
quickly
saw.
the whole fact checking.
Correct.
Fact checking was gone out the
Correct.
window immediately.
Correct.
And it's like, hold on, what? Like, so now we can't even know. Like, before it was so easy. Think about it. Like, we were just able to look and see, hey,
Hmm.
this isn't actually true. Blah blah blah. Now gone like that.
The information he controls.
Yeah,
So if it's on the internet, it's really hard to trust anything you see on Twitter,
yeah,
especially Twitter, well, X, or Facebook, because of that, where they went together and said, all right, we're going to stop doing the fact checking. So he controls them. And how do you know he controls them? Because why were they sitting behind him at the inauguration? Okay.
yeah,
So now the things that he can't control, I'm going to try and shut them down. PBS and NPR, publicly funded. Those people, by the way, do not make a lot of money. There's people in this building. While this is a for-profit commercial TV station, there are people here who don't make a lot of money. So people in public radio, public television
yes.
make even
PBS,
less money.
y'all. Y'all, he's
PBS,
trying to say PBS was putting out propaganda. PBS.
Big Bird.
PBS, yes, Big Bird. I watched the whole start of the Selfridges on PBS,
Wasn't the
right?
whole I'm a Bill thing, was that PBS? Wouldn't that be
I
ironic?
I don't know. I don't know.
Um,
But I don't but we all recognize PBS
correct,
for its educational content.
correct.
It reaches like what I think they said 90%
Yeah.
of our population. It's
Mm-hmm.
incredible. And
Mm-hmm.
it's an incredible resource.
Mm-hmm.
And up until this point, everybody has used it as a resource.
Mm-hmm.
And he all of a sudden feels like it's not a resource. It's actually an attack on his campaign and his power. It's sick.
Anything that he is not able to control is being shut down or is being threatened. So
Yes.
even so that he's got the funding, which has been approved by Congress, allocated by Congress. to shut down PBS and NPR. Here in Indiana, we're in big trouble because of our $2.4 billion shortfall. The state already does not have funding in this next budget for our local NPR and PBS stations. If Trump also gets his way, they will have no funding except what people donate, because and the difference between a commercial station like Fox 59 and a public station like WFYI is we play commercials and make
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
They don't. They do some
Right.
underwriting to pay the bills and some
Right.
nonprofit stuff, but they don't get it. The goal here at Fox 59 is to make money.
Right.
The goal at PBS and WFYI down the street is to
Inform people.
inform people with public information.
Exactly.
And with that said, so we are in big trouble. So you want to know what I think? We are in big trouble.
Yeah.
And I think everybody needs to start talking about it, because the other thing they're saying is, well, we also control the private companies too. So Fox 59, you might be a private company. This is what they're already doing. They're doing this to NBC right now. You're a private company, but you use public airwaves. Therefore, we control what happens inside of your company. And so I'm very interested to see what this industry does, because if you're going to let them do this to PBS and NPR, guess who's next?
The creativity is top tier, right? It's like, oh my God, you guys missed your calling. You guys should have been making movies and stuff. We would be, you know what I mean? Like, what?
And again, all of this is in Project 2025.
Yes, it is all in Project 2025. And I don't know if people understand the history of it too. They created Project 2025 because when he got in there the first time in 2016, they realized, dang, there's not like a comprehensive plan for him, so he's just running wild. So they created one for him. And I think that was smart, because what it did is regardless of who this candidate is, it made it like that can be different, right? But the plan is the same. And that was intriguing to see, and to see it play out now. What's unfortunate is that this is real people's lives in the balance. Like, this is real people's lives, and they're getting impacted every single day. Like, I almost cried the other day when I read the headline about the children being deported, and the one that had stage 4 cancer being deported with no medication. It's like, this is so disgusting. Like, or even finding out that children are in immigration courts alone with no representation, no lawyers, things like that. That is disgusting. And so, yeah, I think more than just seeing like the headlines and being like, wow, he's such a clown. I think as a community of individuals, but also people, even philanthropy and people with those dollars, like, we need to start thinking about how we can plug in these holes, because we're going to have to really get through these next 4 years. And God knows how long it's going to take us to get out of the hole he puts us in.
We got to go here in just a second, but
Yeah.
what else are you up to?
So, funny enough, some of the stuff that I was talking about. So, with all of our different communities feeling like we're always under attack, with the Democrat Party, some folks don't know, but I'm the communications director for IDAC State, and with our caucus, which is the Indiana Democrat African American Caucus for our state, and we teamed up with the Latino Caucus and IYD, which is the Indiana Young Dems, to create a PC training. So, for those who don't know, PCs are precinct committee people. It's a partisan role, and we elect Democrats and Republicans elect our PCs 2 years apart. Right. So they just had theirs. Republicans just had theirs in 2024. Ours is coming up at the spring of 2026. PCs are elected in the primary. And so we are recruiting people to run for PC. The goal is to have these folks be elected so that they're more representative of their community, and that their community chose this person, because if it's empty, the party chair of that county gets to appoint them. And obviously it just leaves room for one leadership that maybe isn't as inclined and wanting to like work really hard for their community, show up for their community because they're just appointed, you know what I mean? And also it can just kind of create opportunities for things to be manipulated in a way. So if they're elected, one, you're in that seat. Like, you would have to do something crazy to get to get out of that seat. They can't just remove you. If you're appointed, you can be removed. And then two, like I said, it's just more representative of that precinct, or it's about the size of your neighborhood. And so we had one training already in person at the IBEW downtown a week ago, actually, and it was great. Our goal was to have 25 people come out. We had 55 folks in attendance. It was incredible. It was a great time. I've only heard great feedback. And so we're doing a virtual version on May 22nd. It is a Thursday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. You can, I'll give you the link for folks to register, but you have to register. We will send the link as we get closer to the event. But it's a really great way to learn how to build political power in your community, especially if you're a Democrat. And then the other thing I'm up to, of course, is the Black Briefing podcast, which is a podcast that I started with Greg Merriweather and Wild Style. Ooh, I almost said his government name. Woo, okay. But with Wild Style. And man, that has been such a joy to create, because I think, just like you were talking about, with traditional outlets really being attacked right now, people need a source of news and information that they feel like they can trust, but also that I feel like what sets ours apart is we have a little bit of background knowledge, so we can give people a bit more context than just reporting things, but we actually give our opinions a bit too, so that and a bit of history and context, so that people can like understand the issues. And the goal isn't to make people think like us or just believe us, right? The goal is to, hey, come out, listen, or not come out, but hey, listen, learn more, and learn just enough to make you curious to go find out for yourself, develop your own opinions, develop, where you want to be involved. Because I don't want you to watch the podcast and think, we want you to be a bunch of Samanthas or Wild Styles or Gregs. The goal is for you to just know these things, though, because I feel like when our people know things, we do things. And the fact that we don't see the doing is because that we just aren't making sure that people know enough.
How can people find said show?
So if you go to @Power to the Polls on YouTube, the Black Briefing podcast is there. It's a monthly podcast, so it's usually released toward the end of the month, and we run down all of the important things locally and in our state. Sometimes we touch on some federal stuff, but most of the time it's local, from the month. And obviously, it's been a time. If you don't know Greg or Wildstyle, well, Greg was on your
Greg's been
show,
on.
so y'all know Greg is a character. And Wildstyle can be too. He's such a historian, though. So there's nothing about Indy that you can't ask this man, and I guarantee you he has some kind of at least little background to give you, which I think is just incredible, because we need those kind of people in our communities, those historians that know the history and that know the background, so that they can really inform us on how best we should move forward. And we need to elevate those voices more.
Well, when we can get the three of you in here together, let's absolutely do it.
Yeah, can't wait. I'll be back with Whitley. I'll be back with them. I'm so excited. And congrats on your new platform, on this platform.
Thank you.
This has been incredible.
Thank you. Until Trump and
no, he's
them
not.
find
we
out
ain't
about
gonna
it.
Speak that, Cameron.
I don't know.
You're not even gonna speak that.
It's a real threat.
Coming up in here.
It's a real threat these days. That's why people are starting to go away.
He ain't coming for you.
Okay.
You'll have a platform regardless. We're believing that.
Well,
you'll have a platform regardless. And I love what you're doing, man. I wish you had time to talk about some of the stuff you've been having on here, man.
Oh, we'll have to have you come back. We've been here, I think this is week 3, or is this week 4? Either way, we've had some
yes, you have. Yes, I was screaming at the screen about the Pike stuff, but I'm gonna mind my Far East Side business. But
apparently people downtown watched it too, because it was brought up in a city county council meeting. That interview apparently was. So
see, look how powerful knowledge is.
Correct.
This is all public information.
Correct.
There's nothing that we're talking about that's not accessible to the public. But it matters when you package it and put it in a format that people can digest. So thank you so much for this work.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate you coming on. We'll look forward to having you with the other crews and listening to your shows. And thank you for everything you do to keep everybody informed.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's tireless work.
Oh my God.
but necessary.
You meant tiresome? Okay.
Tired? No, tired. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. Speaking of which, it's Friday, and it's
Friday.
It's time to have some Friday fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sam, we appreciate you coming on. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Fox 59 tonight. I'm Cameron Riddle. We appreciate you watching. You can always keep up to date with what we are doing here on the show, of course, on YouTube and on our app. And then, of course, if you want to have more conversations with me, join me on Sunday mornings on the radio on 106.7 WTLC and Hot 100.9 for my show, Open Lines. Lots of shows, 6 days a week. Lots of information. We got plenty more to talk about. We'll do it on Sunday, and then we'll be back here on Monday at 8 o'clock. For now, join me tonight at 10. Wait a minute, I got a newscast anchor. Join me for the news coming up tonight at 10 right here on Fox 59 Now. Good night.